Feeling smothered. I'm like, he needs to leave me alone. When I say let me be, like, I think when I say I want space, like, I truly mean that. Like, don't call me, like, don't text me, like, because when you do that, it irks me, like, makes me even more angry.
David is a saint. If he's the husband who swapped partners, I wouldn't complain. I really wouldn't complain, because at the end of the day, he has tried his best to do everything to accommodate this woman. And maybe he needs to stop looking for women with blonde hair, blue eyes, and actually look for someone's character. Because if he had looked for someone's character that sort of aligns with what he wants in a partner, he wouldn't be in this situation whereby he's now matched to someone who can't stand him and who is making his honeymoon miserable. And then, oh my God, how dare this man Ikechi call his homie? What is he trying to say? Is he trying to say there's no romantic attraction there, that he just sees her as a friend and that's it? Make it make sense. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. I'm so sorry about the late review. It's been busy work and stuff. Anyway, in this episode I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 5. If you're new here, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. We just call an end to David and Michelle's wedding, because you have David up early in the morning saying he's going for a walk. He just wants to sort of see the resort. His wife is still asleep. And it's like, these people are barely spending time together. It's either she's in the bed alone and he's sleeping on the couch. Now he's going out to sort of walk while she's fast asleep. What are they doing together exactly? Make it make sense. You have Kayla and Juan. They are having breakfast and they're sort of discussing their finances and, hobbies, because you have Kayla who likes to travel, and Juan is saying, he's an entrepreneur, and so he has these startups that he needs to make sure that he has the money for, and so he's not always going to be able to go on trips or dinners with her because he's needing to save money, because at times he has to raise about 10k over what he normally uses every month. So this is something they will need to be considerate of. And Carla is sort of saying that, no, I can't go out and leave you. If I'm going out, then we're going out together. I'm also an entrepreneur, so I understand the hustle, but that doesn't mean that one of us should do something while the other one doesn't, just because of money issues. And it's like, this guy and his startup, Mavs, I hope, are getting a commission, because he's mentioned it so many times already. He's reminding me of Morgan and her nursing qualification, who ended up coming to film in her uniform to prove to people that she was a nurse. Anyway, then you have my faves, Camille and Thomas. They're in a boat. They're just sailing around, a little patch of water and just having a conversation. And so Camille is saying, I'm used to the water, so I will take the lead and then you just follow my lead. And so it's cute to see. You can see that Thomas is really being very considerate of Camille. She even says that, he's trying to make sure that she's in charge, that she controls everything. That way she's comfortable. He wants to make sure she's as comfortable as can be. And it's like, oh, that's amazing. But then she is saying, in my day-to-day job, I do all the decision making, and I am sort of in control. And I want to come home and not feel like I have to take control of everything. And I think this is just a conversation that they need to have, because if this is their only problem, then this can be easily resolved. They can sit down, have a conversation, just sort of give each other sort of guidelines on how they want to navigate their marriage. Yes, he says, he doesn't believe in roles, in gender roles, particularly, or traditional roles. So if he seems accommodating, then she just needs to let him know what she wants, and hopefully the two of them can agree upon that and they'll be fine. You have Ikechi and Emma. They're having a conversation. I'm starting to question Ikechi, because he seems performative, because it started raining, then he ran with his serviette to sort of cover Emma's hair and sort of stop it from being soaked in the rain. And they're sitting down, they're having a conversation. He's talking about his job and how his dad kicked him out because it seems he was misbehaving as a 16-year-old, and now in his job this is what he does to try and sort of stop children getting into similar situations. And it was a sob story. But for him to say, oh, now you're making me want to cry, it's like, don't say that, because now us, the viewers, are going to start looking for the tears, because this is what we're good at. We'll start looking for tears to see if you're genuinely crying or if you're just making up a story. So you have Madison and David meet up and go to the gym. And so they're having a conversation about their relationships. And I'm side-eyeing them, because I'm thinking, is this the couple that did a partner swap? It would make sense. It would make sense if they did a partner swap, because she's still blonde hair. That's what David's criteria is. But I think they would align more on with each other because they're more accommodating. I don't know why the experts didn't match them together. And I still need to see more of Madison to fully appreciate and understand her, because I think David comes across as a great guy. He says, he's very... he feels like he's walking on eggshells. He's trying to be very accommodating because the family have already told him that, she can become overwhelmed. So he's trying to make sure that he doesn't sort of overwhelm her with information. So you have David reveal to Madison that, he was in a 12-year relationship on and off, and he was engaged to that person, and he had their name tattooed on him. And it's like, this was really a serious relationship. Even if it didn't work out, this sounds like it was really serious. And so the idea that he reveals it to one of the wives, I don't think was a good idea. I think he should have spoken to one of the guys if he needed to confide in someone. Madison was sort of saying to him, it sounds like you're walking on eggshells. Why don't you give a bit of pushback and sort of try and have conversations with her so that you can make progress? Because otherwise, if you stay in one place, well, that's the impression that I get. If you stay in one place and you continue to accommodate her, you're never going to get anywhere. And it's like, Michelle needs to be honest, and she needs to tell the truth, because she's speaking to her sister and she said, I still don't know him. It seems like we're still stuck in the same place. And it's like, you need to be honest. It's either you like this man or you don't like this man. Him living with his parents is not such a big deal. You should know what he does for a living by now. And you should know whether it's enough for him to sustain life. And if his family are telling you that they like him staying there and he's got his own apartment where he pays bills and everything else, then you need to calm down and sort of move on and try and make attempts to get to know this man at least. I don't know, she's getting on my nose as well. You have Joanne and Kyla, they go on a canoe, they're sort of sailing at the back of their sort of bungalow that they're staying in, and it's very cute. They capsize, obviously, and then they have to rescue each other, and you have production actually break, the fourth screen, and sort of enter and sort of try and sort of rescue them because they couldn't find them. I think they could hear them, but they couldn't find them. Eventually they found them, and Carla was just go with the flow. She was really go with the flow, and even Joan acknowledged that, she's very accommodating and she's very free flowing. She's not one of those people that's going to always be all over the place. The fact that we fell in and she didn't sort of make a big deal about it. She came out dry as hell. Her hair was still on point. I was like, oh my god, my girl must have flown out of the boat and sort of just landed somewhere so that she didn't get wet. They then went back sailing, and it was really cutesy. It was really cutesy and romantic, so that was good to see. You have Madison go back to her apartment, and she meets, her husband Alan, and they're having conversations, and he's sort of asking her, did you meet anyone else in the gym? And she says, yeah, I met David, and reveals the conversation that they had with David. And so Alan is also asking, does it come across to you as though I'm walking on eggshells? Is there anything you feel I need to do to change? And she says, no, well, I need to understand your conflict management. I think because Alan has been in therapy, he's got these sort of talking points that he sort of uses to sort of speak and sort of make sure that he says the right words. And so she was just trying to tell him that you need to make sure that you're not becoming a pushover. You're not, looking out for everybody else except yourself. And I think it's because of his mum, because his mum seems very delicate. Even at the wedding, she was crying. When she met Madison, she was crying. So I think this is why he's had to be very accommodating and very understanding when it comes to his, to his mum and people around him. You have David come back home and he's sort of having a conversation with Michelle, and he's sort of telling her about the gym, and then he starts to talk to her about his ex and the fact that he has a name tattooed on his chest, and he offers to go with her so that he can have it removed. And for her to say, well, I'm not in the mood to go with him and sit there while he has somebody else's name removed or covered up, that's a big mistake. It's always a big mistake to have someone. And it's like, you're hypercritical of this man. Why? You're very hypercritical. Yes, he's asking you questions about yourself, and you're saying, I don't feel comfortable around him, or I don't know him enough in order to open up. And it's like, how do you expect to know him if you're not having conversations? In order for you to know him, you need to speak to him. And in speaking to him, you need to give him the information that he is asking you, and ask for information that will make you comfortable in order to feel like you can confide in him. Am I the only one who's confused about the fight between Michelle and David? Make it make sense. It's not adding up, because you have David come from the shower, and then out of the blue, they start arguing back and forth. This woman doesn't like this man, and she is wasting time. The fact that she has her phone on the honeymoon and keeps calling someone tells me that it's been way more complicated and complex than we're actually being told, because normally they don't give them their phones until they come back from the honeymoon. So the idea that she's got her phone, something must be happening in this relationship that we're not being shown. Is she I'm a very nice person? Again, do we have another I'm a very nice person on this season? Make it make sense, because it's not making sense. The idea that she'd be upset with him and say, you live in a fairy tale and you're not realistic. It's like, well, what does this man have to do or say? Someone else says he's walking on eggshells. He's allowing you to be. What more do you want him to do? He's trying to be as positive as he can be. Since you told him you had a panic attack on the wedding, he's asking you to go and sit by the poolside. You don't want to sit by the poolside because you're saying he's not being realistic. What did you want him to do? Did you want him to scream and shout? I think she's looking for an excuse to check out, and she's not getting the excuse that she needs. And sadly for her, I wish they had swapped them around. I wish they had matched her with Alan, and then they had matched Madison with with David. Although poor Alan, I don't think he could cope with this woman. Michelle doesn't need to have been matched with someone. She should have been left alone. They should have put her back in the water or sent her to Love is Blind. Maybe that would have worked better. And then you have my faves, Camille and Thomas. Can they be any cuter? They go out for a dinner date. And I love their level of respect with one another. I love their empathy with one another. I love how accommodating they are with one another, because they have a conversation about, how many times would you like to go out? How often do you go out? What do you like to do? So they're sort of trying to see whether they share the same sort of hobbies, the same likes, and so they agree that they would like to go out for meals and explore. They would also like to cook at home. So that was cute. And then she sort of asked him, I think she sort of gave him a heads up that I'm going to ask you this. I don't think it just came out of the blue, but she did ask him about his adoption and how he came to find out. And it was really sad. Adoption seems very hard. I don't know whether it's something I would be able to do. I don't know. Adoption and surrogacy, power to the cause. I think because I have attachment issues, so I would really struggle with letting go if that child one day woke up and decided to go back to their adopted parents, or carrying a pregnancy and then giving it back, the baby to someone else. I would really struggle with that. So it's really heartwarming to hear him sort of open up and have Camille receive it with empathy and understanding and compassion and love, and for her to reveal the details of her parents' divorce and he be the same. I think they are the best match thus far. It seems they are the best match thus far. And I like the fact that Camille is encouraging him that we need to be as honest and open and organic as possible. That way we can get to a yes on decision day. Because that means she's already looking ahead. She's already planning a future with this man. And I love it for her here. So they have a girls mix and a guys mixer. The guys, go to taste tequila and David is hosting it. And then the girls go for a yoga session, which is being led by Carla. This is what she does for a living anyway. So it was really nice to see them bond and sort of gel in a very sort of calming environment. I think they needed this, especially with Michelle there. So David has a conversation with the guys, and he sort of lets the guys know that he's really struggling because everything he does seems to sort of not be working, and is looking for help or for ideas on how to sort of progress his marriage, because it seems he and his wife are struggling to sort of reach an understanding or reach a point whereby they can sort of make it work, because he really sees that everybody else seems to be progressing, and for him they take one step forward and 10 steps back. And so it was nice to hear what everybody had to say. Yes, they encouraged him to sort of ask her what she wants in the relationship or what she feels she needs in order to sort of make things work. Ikechi, for me, I don't know. I'm becoming a bit suspicious of the things that are coming out of his mouth, really, because I don't know how authentic he is. I don't know whether these are things that he's just saying because he knows that they'll make him look good, or whether he actually means every single thing that he's saying. Juan, oh God, I don't know. Juan, I don't know. I really don't know. I think he wants to seem as though he's very informed. But it was nice to sort of hear Alan speak, and Alan encourage this relationship. And because Alan has already heard from his wife what, David was saying, so he has a bigger picture of the incident as compared to anybody else amongst the guys. They spoke about Thomas's relationship, and Thomas feels they're going very well. Everybody knows they're doing very well. Joanne said, they haven't yet been physically intimate because this is something they're trying to hold off on until they're actually happy. You had Ikechi say, he himself had no expectations when he got married, so he encourages David to not have any expectations because now he's matched with someone who's, like the homie. They're really good friends. They really get on very well, and being friends with your partner is something that is essential in making your marriage work. And so maybe David needs to sort of focus on the friendship part. And it's like he's saying what he knows. Viewers of Married at First Sight always say that don't have any expectations. If you're going to be married at first sight, then you can't have any expectations and just wait for the person who walks down the aisle. And so Alan is still in this place where he's still trying to make his marriage work, and the guys were encouraging that. And then you go over to the girls. You have Michelle telling the girls, like, she feels like the bad guy every single day. She wakes up, she realizes that I have to be the bad guy because I have to say something that's going to upset him or be more realistic than he is. And you can see that Madison doesn't buy this because she's had a conversation with David, and so she knows where David is coming from, or maybe what David has said. And yes, the girls are trying to give Michelle information on how to sort of make her marriage work, but I think it's pointless. I think Michelle should have checked out, because if she really wanted to be married to this man, if she really needed help, she should have asked the producers to call the experts. Instead of calling whoever she's calling, she should have spoken to the experts, told them about the struggles she's having in her marriage, and then seen how they could help her sort of progress. But I think she just likes the idea that she's, I'm a very nice person and my husband is not a very nice person and it's frustrating me. With Camille, she spoke about the fact that, they were standing by the beach and by the ocean, and, they were having a conversation, and David brought up this thing that, he has these romantic moments in his head that, you would like to happen. And one of them is, share a kiss with his wife on the beach. And immediately she kisses him. He said, okay, you got your wish. And it's like, this is what I like. Someone who's open to anything, someone who's open to exploring and getting to know their partner. You can tell that these two people really like one another, Thomas and Camille. You can tell they really like the person they're matched with, and so it's going to be cute to see their journey. Hopefully there's no messiness from the producers that causes them to sort of separate. And I think with last season, the producers are going to be sort of wanting a successful couple this season. The experts are going to be wanting a successful couple. So I hope, if nothing else, they leave them alone and just allow them to be organic. You have Carla say, they're not being physical yet because, she believes in energies and she doesn't want to exchange her energy with someone unless she's 100% sure that this is the person she wants to do that with. And that was cute. Oh my God, my girl. I think they should have matched her with somebody else. This man is not it. I don't think he's the man she's been waiting for. She says, they don't believe in that sort of thing. They're not going to she's not going to discuss having sex on camera because she knows that her mom is going to frown on it. And this is something that is not acceptable in the African culture. So for you to be talking about sex with everybody watching. So it's going to be interesting to see how that marriage turns out as well. But I have little hope. It's about time. Well, it's well past time because you have, Michelle come back to have a conversation with David after, their outings with the boys and the girls. And David is sort of updating her on his conversations with the guys. And he's sort of saying, the guys encouraged me to have no expectations and just go with the flow. And I want to know, what were your expectations coming into this marriage? Do you think I would match those expectations? And she's sort of being patronizing, in my opinion. Or I wanted someone who's as accomplished as I am, someone who's as driven as I am, someone who's going to challenge me and teach me things. And it's like, you don't know this man from Adam. This man says he had a business that he sold. That is money. Do you have the same money as he does? No, just because he lives at home with his family doesn't mean he's not accomplished. The audacity, I don't even know what he does for a living. Nowadays, since the Morgan era, they've stopped telling us about these people's careers, so we don't know what they do for a living unless we hear them speak at the introduction when the season starts. And I don't even remember if I made a note of it. But the audacity to think just because he lives with his parents is not accomplished. Make it make sense. And so I get his frustration. I get him storming off and him sort of lashing out because it's about goddamn time. Because the moment he did did that. You could see she sort of woke up and was like, oh, goddamn, I actually have frustrated him. And I wish he had checked out, because he told her, I need my own time. I need to take time for myself, because I think the producers had to beg him to go back out. I think he was that furious. He didn't want anything to do with her. And so he told her, when he came back, this is the angriest you'll ever see me. I'm someone who's, who's very easygoing. But he had reached the boiling point, because you can't continue to have someone talk to you like you're a little child. Just because he lives at home with his parents doesn't mean he's a child. He's saying he's helping his parents with their bills by living at home. So he must be financing his parents' lifestyle. He must be doing something for them to want him around. So the audacity to just hear that he stays at home and assume he's not accomplished, he doesn't have anything. He sold the business that he owned, buddy. He used to live above his bar. What happened to all that money? So why didn't you ask him, what do you do for a living? This is what I'm looking for. A, B, C, D, F, G. I get his frustration, and I think it's about goddamn time he spoke up for himself, because it's becoming too much. Ikechi. Okay, so you have Ikechi and M sit down for a conversation just to catch up after the meetup, and you have M sort of asking, how was your time with the guys? What did you discuss? And he's busy telling her, I told him she's the homie, and it's like, nah, that's wrong. He knows what he did is wrong. For him to pretend like he wasn't wrong is shocking. The homie means a guy. You could have called her your partner or anything else. This is my ride or die. This is my partner. Partner is, we're 50-50. Not for him to call her the homie. I get her sort of trying to keep it cute and not trying to get upset, but you could tell she was upset. She was upset because it makes him feel like he's not attracted to you and he just sees you as one of the guys. So I don't know whether this is what he meant or whether he's actually being genuine, that, he meant no harm. He's just meant that that's his friend and it's important that they're friends. And it's like, you could have used other words to sort of identify her as your friend. You could have said, that's my friend, that's my partner, that's my ride or die, that's my other half. Anything else sort of cutesy, not to call her your homie. I get her frustration, and so I think this is the beginning of something, and it's going to continue, because with women, we just don't let something slide after the first go. If he does it again, I think she's going to call him out. This time she's kept it cute, so I can't wait to see what happens next time when he tries it again. Anyway, you have Carla and Juan. They go for a massage. Oh my God, it reminds me of my massage in Bali. I had to throw that in humble brag. It looked really amazing. It really looked amazing. I was like, oh my God, can I have one of those? And so it was cute to see them relax and sort of enjoy their time. This is something that they both like to do. The fact that Mavs still hasn't stopped, the producers still haven't stopped asking people about sex is shocking. It's been 18 seasons. At this point, this question needs to come out of the equation, because you have Juan say, I have previously just had sex with partners just for the sake of it, and it hasn't worked out great. So this time I've decided that I really want to sort of be in love before I sort of commit myself. And I think it's a good thing, because he's a very regimented person and she's a very fly by the seat of my pants type of person. And so they really need to know one another and know that they're fully committed to the person before they take the next step. Because when you bring physical intimacy into an equation, it makes it hard to untangle yourself if things don't work out. So I give them kudos, the both of them, or everyone who seems to be abstaining, because it's important, especially on Married at First Sight, in my opinion, that you get to know your partner first. You get to sort of reach an understanding of respect, love, compassion, empathy, and sort of know that you really like this person and you can see a future before you do that, because otherwise this is where you get the bitterness and the messiness from last season. Poor Alan, he can't help himself. He really can't help himself. The way he dresses, one would think he would see from what everybody else is wearing and maybe try and change, but he doesn't seem like he's going to pivot. Anyway, so you have him out sort of paddle boating. I don't know what they call it. I think that's what they call it. Anyway, so he's having a conversation with Madison, and she's sort of talking about some of the quirky things that he wears, and he's sort of saying that, I got these glasses, and then he goes into this rambly story about how he got these glasses from this man. He could have easily said, there's this guy at my pub who's always wearing queer and awkward things and unique things. He's the one who gave me the glasses. No, he had to tell this full story. I love Madison's patience, that she didn't cut him off. I love that. I love that she was patient and she sort of listened to him sort of ramble until he finished. But she told him that you do ramble a lot, and he took it on board, and she said, I'll try and interrupt you that way you don't keep rambling. And at the end of the day, I think clothing is not something you can worry about when it comes to a partner, because you can give him the Keith makeover. You remember Keith and Christine from season 8 or 9, I think. She made him over and he looks totally different because his clothing is different. So you can give him the wifey makeover. That's something you don't need to worry about. As long as his personality, his attitude, and the two of you get along and everything is great, the clothing doesn't matter, because you can sort of tweak it here, there, and then. You can just lose a lot of things accidentally until you've sort of replaced everything with what you think is aesthetically pleasing, and hopefully he, as your husband, will tolerate that. You had my favorites, Camille and Tom. We didn't really get to see them. I think the thing with reality TV is when a couple is doing very well, we barely get to see them. So we just had a little confession from them saying, it was a very good day. We didn't get to see them sort of update each other on the, the guys and the girls meetup. You also had the same from Madison and Alan. They had a little debrief of, the fact that they were going to meet up with the other couples for a boat day. You had David say he was out till very late on the boat because I think he really doesn't want anything to do with this woman. I don't know why Mavs haven't allowed them to go home. I don't know whether it's because of the 50,000 fine or the fact that, they've shipped all this equipment, all these crew members, and they've paid for their accommodation and stuff. So they just can't have you wake up one morning and say, I want to go. Otherwise, I feel like they should have allowed them to go. You have, Carla and Juan, they are talking about, their habits at home and sort of how they like their tissues, and it's like, yeah, it's nice that they're sort of digging deep and sort of having conversations about everything, but I don't know. I really don't know. I can't wait to see what happens. Anyway, everybody meets up because they're going on a boat date. Carla is something else. So on the bus, they start talking. I don't know how they got to the subject of sex. And Carla starts talking about the fact that, it started off with her talking about, she doesn't like wearing clothes. She likes moving around naked. And so this is the longest she's actually not been able to do that. And she also mentions that one hasn't had the opportunity to see her naked. And one agrees with that. And then it goes into sex. She starts talking about men having a magic wand and how organic she is. And it's like, oh, TMI. You could see, poor Camille was cringing. She was trying to sort of shrink into the car seat, and so everybody else was listening. And then you had Tom sort of say, oh, it's nice to know that I've got a magic wand. And it's like, this conversation is not it, because you don't know everybody else and you don't know how comfortable they are listening to you go on about certain things. But hey, it is what it is. Once on the boat, they had their toast, and then people I assume was sent off in couples to have conversations. And first up was David and his wife Michelle. And that was a train wreck. That really was a train wreck. I don't know why they keep this woman on this show. They need to send her home. They should have learned their lesson from I'm a Very Good Person, because she's wasting this man's time. She's breaking this man down, and it's not really necessary. It really isn't. And so I wish they would allow them to sort of just go home, because she says, he's sort of asking her, so what did you do yesterday when we separated? She says, oh, I spoke to my friends on the phone, and then I ordered food, and then I slept at 9 o'clock. And he's sort of asking, so I think he expected her to sort of say why she needed to speak to her friends. We should have been nice and accommodating, just to say to him, I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I wanted to speak to my friends that know me, that know how I can be at certain situations, to see what advice they would give me in order for us to sort of make things work. And so for her to say, oh, I just want to keep things light, I want to keep things light, I don't want to go too deep. It's like, so why are you here? The purpose of the show is for you to sort of have these in-depth conversations so that someone can see your journey and learn from your journey. So if you are not wanting to do that, then maybe it's time for you to go home, sis. And so I give David, he's so frustrated with this. He just stood up and said, I'm going inside. And he deserves to go inside and be with people that are willing to listen to him and have conversations with him instead of wasting his time with someone who really can't be bothered with him. You had Ikechi and Em sort of sit there and have a conversation, and he's trying to make it seem like he's the most informed husband. He knows his wife really well. He can tell from her nonverbals what she's thinking. Oh, now I can tell that you're hungry, and you really are hungry. And she agreed with it. And then he said, oh, I can tell you need me to shut up. And it's like, yeah, because at times you ramble on about nothing. You really do. And so it's not necessary for you to keep rambling. So I think maybe at times you need to take your own advice and just keep quiet and just be there and just be present and just see if, I need you to say something. I will ask you. Otherwise, let's just have a moment of silence just to reflect and enjoy the scenery. Seriously, this woman needs to go home. I think Mavs needs to amend their contract to say that if you are not going to be 100% in this marriage, then even on the honeymoon, we have the right to send you home. Because some people are now using it as an opportunity to get a free holiday. Because I don't get the need for the producers to sit down with this woman again after she's been sort of disrespectful to her husband and she's sort of complaining, oh, I don't know, I think I'm shutting down. Michelle, if you're shutting down, go home. Really, go home. No one is holding you. You don't need to stay here. You've tried your best. You failed. Go home. This is the time when I wish they had a system like the Married at First Sight UK or Australia, whereby they bring in people to replace couples that have gone home. They really need to start doing it. They really need to start having commitment ceremonies and sort of getting people to decide whether they want to stay or whether they want to go, because it's pointless to keep people in an experiment for 8 weeks when they're not working and they're just wasting people's time. I know it makes for great TV, but it's pointless. Even for the producer to ask her, why did you get married? And she says she doesn't know. Well, if she doesn't know, then she needs to go home. Maybe it's not the right thing for her. I feel like she had expectations of who she expected to stand at the end of the altar for her. And when it didn't turn out to whatever she expected, she just started looking for excuses. So the fact that he lives at home with his parents gave her enough reason to sort of hold on to that and make it a bigger deal than it needed to be, because it's not that much of a big deal. And I'm getting frustrated that she keeps being accommodated and they keep allowing her to continue to be disrespectful to this man for no apparent reason. Anyway, you then have everyone sort of just hanging around. They all enjoyed the pool, the ocean. Actually, they were jumping in the ocean. And one thing about my girl, her hair was dry. Even though she jumped into the ocean, she was able to still keep her hair dry. She was able to keep her hair dry up until they got back on the camper van to go back to the villa. And then you had Camille and, Thomas. They had a conversation of where they are, how things are going. I think Thomas was just trying to explain himself, to say to her, don't think just because I'm not touching you, I don't like you. I do like you, but it's just I'm a bit nervous. And this is why I say he reminds me of Vincent and Brianna, because Vincent, everyone was saying, oh, Vincent is very awkward. Vincent... No, with Thomas, I think he really likes his wife. He really likes the person he was matched with. And so he's trying his best to make sure that he doesn't do anything to frustrate or upset her. This is why he's sort of trying to sort of always make sure she knows that he likes her. He really cares for her. And he's trying to check in with her to make sure that, he's still good with her. He's not doing anything that's sort of off-putting or anything that's frustrating for her. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 3. Bye guys.